of the House of Representatives, His Excellency Datuk Awang Bimi bin Awang Ali Basa, President of the Senate, Your Excellency, Speakers and Honorable Members of Parliament, Her Excellency A.R. Siti Rozai Merianti, Datuk Haji Abdul Rahman, Secretary General of AIPA, Chief Secretary to the Government of Malaysia, Senior Government Officers, distinguished delegates, esteemed members of the media, respected guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the opening ceremony of the 46th General Assembly of ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Assembly AIPA 2025. My name is Zamir Asfar and I am glad to be part of this meaningful occasion as your Master of Ceremony. Honorable delegates, ladies and gentlemen, to start today's series of addresses, it is our honor to invite Her Excellency A.R. Siti Rozai Merianti, Datuk Haji Abdul Rahman, Secretary General of AIPA, to kindly deliver her welcoming remarks. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dari pulau ke tanah daratan, bersatu teguh sepanjang zaman, AIPA menjalin erat ikatan, Malaysia gemilang, tuan rumah berwawasan. Sawah menghijau, penuh harapan, bunga raya mekar harum berkembang. Selamat datang kami ucapkan kepada perwakilan yang hadir bersidang. The Honorable Datuk Seri Anwar bin Ibrahim, Prime Minister of Malaysia, His Excellency Tan Seri Datuk Dr. Johari bin Abdul, President of AIPA and Speaker of the House of Representatives, His Excellency Datuk Awang Bimi bin Awang Ali Basa, President of the Senate, Your Excellencies, Speakers and Honourable Members of Parliament, Honourable Ministers, Honourable AIPA Member Parliaments and Observer Parliaments, Senior Government Officers, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honour to welcome you all in the open ceremony of the 46th General Assembly of the ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Assembly. Our journey together under the presidency of Malaysia began in July 2024. Since then, guided by the Parliament of Malaysia, we have walked a path of shared responsibility, preparing for this moment that now gathers us here in Kuala Lumpur. Allow me at this moment to convey our deep appreciation to Tan Sri Datuk Dr. Johari bin Abdul, President of AIPA and Speaker of the House of Representatives of Malaysia. He has led with vision and consistency, not only generating ideas, but also demonstrating the will to implement them. His leadership is proactive and hands-on, always ensuring that the work of AIPA is supported with clarity and commitment. A clear reflection of his dedication is his personal presence in every AIPA meeting hosted in Malaysia, showing that his support is not symbolic, but a real investment in the strength of our institution. In May this year, Tan Sri also became the first AIPA president to visit the AIPA Secretariat in Jakarta, an act that sets an encouraging precedent for other speakers and hopefully for future AIPA presidents to deepen the engagement with the Secretariat. Equally important is the inclusive approach demonstrated during Malaysia's presidency, by involving state legislative assemblies in co-hosting and bringing AIPA meetings to different states. Malaysia underscored the importance of widening this participation, fostering ownership and ensuring that parliamentary diplomacy reaches beyond national capitals, touching communities directly and making the work of our assembly more visible and relatable to the people. This spirit of inclusivity is also reflected in Malaysia's strong support for youth. Under its presidency, the chair of Young Parliamentarians initiated visits to several ASEAN member states to engage young parliamentarians and hold dialogues with youth. Malaysia is also co-organizing the 5th Model AIPA with the AIPA Secretariat and University Kebangsaan Malaysia, bringing together nearly 70 youth from all 10 ASEAN member states to experience parliamentary diplomacy firsthand. These efforts show that inclusivity is not only about today's leaders, but also preparing the next generation. Excellencies, honourable speakers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the theme chosen for this General Assembly, Parliaments at the Forefront for Inclusive Growth and a Sustainable ASEAN, carries both clarity and urgency. It speaks to the need for our work to be concise, meaningful and timely, while also ensuring long-term relevance. This theme is fully aligned with the vision put forward by Malaysia as ASEAN Chair in 2025, Inclusivity and Sustainability, and resonates with the recently adopted ASEAN Community Vision 2045, which calls to build a resilient, innovative, dynamic, and truly people-centered ASEAN. But as we reflect on these aspirations, an important question arises. Are we ready to fully embrace the vision of the people-centered ASEAN, where the voices of our citizens genuinely shape the direction of our community? Or are we still more comfortable with an ASEAN that is largely guided from the top with limited space for participation from the ground? The answer to this question will shape not only the credibility of our institutions, but also the trust of our people in the regional project we are entrusted to carry forward. In this regard, allow me to turn to Excellency Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, who honours us with his presence today. Prime Minister, your words at the interface between AIPA delegates and ASEAN leaders earlier this year remain with us. You reminded us that AIPA is an instrumental partner in realising the aspirations of the people, in driving progress across ASEAN's 3 pillars, and in enhancing our region's preparedness and resilience. This was not just a statement, but a reminder of a shared responsibility between the executives and the legislatives to ensure that ASEAN truly works for its peoples. We also commend your commitment, Excellency, to transparency and open dialogue as reflected in your personal delivery of a policy speech at the ASEAN headquarters in Jakarta. It is a rare and powerful example of leadership by engagement, showing how listening and sharing openly can foster trust and collective purpose. Indeed, the role of parliaments goes beyond dialogue. As legislators, parliamentarians shape the rules that govern our societies. Through oversight, they hold institutions accountable and ensure that commitments are matched with delivery. Through our budgetary process, they make choices that directly affect the lives of our citizens. Most importantly, as elected representatives, parliamentarians carry the voice of the peoples of ASEAN into regional deliberations. It is this voice that ensures ASEAN is not an elite-driven project, but one that reflects and responds to the aspirations of its 670 million citizens. This General Assembly, therefore, is not only about resolutions or declarations. It is about reaffirming the indispensable role of parliaments as the bridge between governments and the peoples, between commitments and implementation, and between vision and reality. As we begin the 46th General Assembly, may we be guided by a spirit of responsibility and collaboration. Our task is to ensure that the work we undertake is not only relevant today, but also enduring for generations to come. And as we reflect, I will leave you with this question. How can we, as representatives of the peoples of ASEAN, best carry their voices, needs, and aspirations into the heart of regional decision-making so that our parliaments truly transform vision into action and action into lasting trust between ASEAN and its people? With that, I once again welcome you all and wish this 46th AIPA General Assembly every success. Thank you.
Thank you, Her Excellency AR Siti Rozai Merianti Datuk Haji Abdul Rahman, for your inspiring welcoming remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, to continue with our program, the ceremony is honoured to invite His Excellency Tan Sri Datuk Dr. Johari bin Abdul, President of AIPA, to the stage to deliver his opening address. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. The Honorable Datuk Seri Anwar bin Ibrahim, ASEAN Chair for 2025 and the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Datuk Awang Bimi, President of the Senate, Excellencies, speakers from members of ASEAN, Her Excellency Engineer Siti Rozai Merianti, Secretary General of AIPA, speakers from the states all over Malaysia, Excellencies, ladies of observer delegations, distinguished parliamentarians, honorable delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Selamat datang. Welcome to Kuala Lumpur and welcome to the 46th General Assembly of ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Assembly. Today, this city does not host a mere assembly, but sets a stage grounded by the desire of our peoples for regional peace, stability, economic and social cultural operation. By harmonizing national legislation with ASEAN regional framework, we make an aspirational real within our domestic laws, and as ASEAN anticipates robust growth projected at 4.7% in both 2025 and 2026, the need for legislative leadership becomes even clearer. Whether in digital trade, sustainable finance, green technologies, food security, climate action, or social protection, these will not advance on promises alone. They require legal frameworks that unlock innovation while protecting our people. This gathering, therefore, transcends the convening of parliamentarians and governments. It is an acknowledgement of the strength and wisdom of our citizens whose voices shape our shared future. Their aspirations for dignity, security, inclusivity, and opportunity must be the foundation of every law that we pass and every policy we champion. The role of parliamentarians in our region cannot be overstated. We are not only lawmakers, we are bridge builders entrusted with shaping peace, stability, and inclusive progress across Southeast Asia. Parliamentary leadership is about ensuring that resolutions grow out of dialogue and genuine participation. Peace must rest upon justice, inclusion, and governance that welcomes the voices of all. Looking ahead to the ASEAN Community Vision of 2045, we must also strengthen the ties between AIPA and ASEAN institutions, as well as with our external partners. It is through deeper engagement that we can transform our shared vision into shared reality. Our region's greatest asset is not our natural resources or our strategic location, but the 700 million voices, each carrying ASEAN's future. This demographic dividend is a gift. But not only if we invest in building the right competencies for future leadership, we must ensure these investments in the human capital translate into real opportunities, framework that allow talent to move freely across borders, qualifications that are recognized across member states, and pathways that empower youth to contribute meaningfully to ASEAN's growth. I urge, and again I urge all of us to widen the circle of participation. Youth and women must not remain on the margin of parliamentary life. They belong at its very heart. Malaysia's AIPA presidency is not only about resolutions. We have created spaces for dialogue, including the now and future forums and exhibitions. This platform connects policymakers, businesses, and communities, allowing us to see how innovation and collaboration can shape ASEAN's shared future. And I warmly invite all of you, all delegates, all leaders here to experience it as part of our collective journey. The exhibition is just next door of the same building. We have also introduced an anthem, Together We Strive, symbolizing ASEAN collective spirit. It has been played many times around. The anthem is the echo of the same desire that first set this stage in motion more than 3 decades ago in Kuala Lumpur. And today it is renewed as a celebration of our solidarity and contribute to the people whose courage, resilience, and aspiration remain the true foundation of ASEAN's progress. And in conclusion, and as we look ahead, let us carry this spirit beyond Kuala Lumpur into every parliament and every community across ASEAN. Let this assembly, not only for the resolutions we adopt, but for the solidarity we strengthen as parliaments and as a nation, as one ASEAN community. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala. God bless you all.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, our deepest appreciation to His Excellency Tan Sri Datuk Dr. Johari bin Abdul for his gracious and inspiring opening address. Ladies and gentlemen, the 46th General Assembly of AIPA indicates its 46-year journey. It was first established on 2nd September 1977 under the initiative of ASEAN earlier. Earlier, it was known as AIPO, the ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Organization, which started off with only 5 member countries. Over the years, it has evolved from a fledgling organization into an influential forum for legislative cooperation in Southeast Asia. ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Assembly today can be proud of its role in contributing to ASEAN goals of regional integration, peace, stability, and prosperity. Honorable delegates and eminent guests, as the pinnacle of today's prestigious gathering, it is now our great honor to invite the Honorable Datuk Seri Anwar bin Ibrahim, Prime Minister of Malaysia, to kindly deliver his address and to officiate the 46th General Assembly of the ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Assembly.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Johari Abdul, pengurusi AIPA dan juga Yang di-Pertua Dewan Rakyat. Yang berbahagia Datuk Awang Bimi, Speaker Dewan Senat, para speaker dari ASEAN dan juga negara-negara tamu, dan yang saya muliakan Speaker Dewan Undangan Negeri yang turut menyerikan majlis pada hari ini. Tentunya acara kita memberi makna kepada sistem demokrasi yang berfungsi, menjamin supaya perundingan, perbincangan, teguran dan kritikan diteruskan dalam suasana yang lebih sopan. Memang sukar, speaker-speaker ada di sini. Kadang bila suhu kemudian terus hangat, tugas speaker itu besar. Dan dalam sistem parlimen, kita tahu dalam dewan, tugas speaker itu hampir mutlak. Jadi termasuk arahan pakaian. Jadi pada hari ini saya diarah pakai agak formal. Tapi oleh kerana ini di luar parlimen, saya tukar sikit dengan izin. Sebab ada acara lain tadi pagi, kena pakai batik, selepas ini batik. Jadi nak saya mohon jangan draw saya di parlimen nanti. Saudara-saudara yang kita faham, AIPA ini diasaskan dengan semangat ASEAN, memenuhi keperluan semasa dan menjadikan erti demokrasi itu dalam maksud memberi ruang mengimbangi pandangan pemerintah dan juga pandangan pembangkang atau pandangan-pandangan lain. Dan kebijaksanaan speaker akan menentukan apakah perjalanan itu cukup memuaskan. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is of course a profound honor for us to host this assembly. And as I've said, to give meaning to what we consider democratic accountability is to allow reasoned discourse in our House of Representatives or parliaments. And that means to have a very functioning, critical, competent speakers at the national or local assemblies. Because by democratic accountability means we allow for a healthy exchange and discourse, that forums, committees, and of course the assembly in parliament would focus on national development and people's welfare. Malaysia have embarked on some of this reform agenda, and I'm proud to say, with the support of the Speaker, or both Speakers of the House of Parliament and Senate, we have introduced a very radical shift, what we call the Parliamentary Services Act. An outstanding achievement because the institution of Parliament has become totally independent of governmental management. And of course, I commend the Speaker for harassing me to ensure that the Cabinet takes this as a priority and finally tabling it for approval in Parliament. And on the issue of Parliamentary Services Act, we have found that in Malaysia, both the ruling parties and the opposition gave their full support. Now, following that, we had also established select committees. Select committees by nature has to be represented both by government and the opposition. And I must say, it was easier in my role for many, many years as opposition leader, easier to perform in Parliament than to perform as Prime Minister. Because you are held accountable, you have to undertake to answer some very difficult questions, and some of the exchanges on very contentious issues and raised in a very rancorous exchanges, which I think is not necessarily very healthy, but is something that is beyond us. Our hope is, of course, to allow for members of Parliament to show and set this good example, or Senate or Congress for that matter, that we can engage, enter in a reasoned discourse with some decorum. And this is, of course, a challenge in most parliaments in Congress. How do you then present the case or choose to criticize but maintain certain order, decorum? Most parliaments, and including Malaysia, is of course open to the media, particularly now the social media. Of course, members would choose to present their case, but we also want to alert the citizens at large, particularly the young, students and youth, to monitor both views so that they can then assess the views and then come up to a decision. And I think, therefore, the role of the Speaker is beyond rules, but also the spirit of democratic engagement, is to ensure that it is healthy, it promotes a healthy, reasoned discourse, that this discourse would maintain, ensure that certain decorum is observed. And of course, that's your challenge. It's not necessarily mine. I have enough problems in the House, particularly when we introduced in the last few years Prime Minister's question time. I wasn't sure whether I made the right decision, but I'm stuck with that on a weekly basis. But I think, notwithstanding our personal reflections and views on this, I must say that it is healthy discourse. It puts the Prime Minister and the government on guard, that and that gives the real meaning, in essence, to what we call democratic accountability. Democracy is not about elections every 4 or 5 years. Democracy is about a system that would allow the ruling party to be questioned and criticized and assessed by the public, and to be responsible for what they undertake to do. But similarly are also parliamentarians. As you know, development in many of our countries, in ASEAN and beyond, not only the government, but parliamentarians are now being questioned, whether they use their influence and power to strengthen their position or enhance their position, or for that matter, benefit from their privilege, or they actually serve the interests of their citizens. And I think certainly the development in the last few weeks has been quite a shock, and put both the government and the opposition, members of parliament, congressmen, senators, on guard, that whatever you do, you must make sure that you honor the spirit of the Constitution, honor your oath of office, and the spirit of accountability, and the right for the citizens to question. Of course, in the realm of control and influence by social media, there are times that people can be misled. Notwithstanding, it is our duty to perform the best of our ability to honor our commitment and our oath of office. And I must therefore thank the speakers for ensuring that we stay on guard. I mean, whatever I may have the power lent to me as Prime Minister, when I am in the House, of course, I'm subjected fully to the decision of the Speaker. And I must tell you, although the Speaker is my friend, there are many of his decisions that I personally do not like or agree. But this is what the system is. We have to be most respectful, because otherwise the system would fail. And coming back to the central issues of governance, what is ultimately the role of Parliament or assemblies? Is to ensure that we hear and we truly and honorably represent the true aspirations of our people. And by nature, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, which means that you must always be cautious and hold those in power more accountable than the rest. And we have seen the governments fail because there is a tendency for those in power to amass wealth and to accept a systemic corruption as a way of life. And I think this is, I must commend that this in ASEAN, we forge ahead in our deliberations. I must thank my colleagues, Sultan of Brunei, presidents and prime ministers, for allowing this forum to be really open and exchanges in a very frank, friendly manner. And we deliberate on issues not considering whether it's highly sensitive to one another. And we talk about inclusivity, yes. Inclusivity means that we do not represent the only elites. We represent a nation, which means the most marginalized, whether it's urban poor or those in the rural heartland, whether the interests of the majority or the minority, and particularly the women and the youth. ASEAN has given enough, I think, a good forum for women, for representatives of the youth to express their views. And I think not many countries would do so. In every ASEAN leadership function, we'll have to sit down and listen to the deliberation of the youth. And the leaders have got to just virtually shut up and listen and to the expressions of our young. Fortunately, our young are more moderate as compared to when I was young. So they do express. But although they do it politely, the issues raised are concerning. Issue of governance, issue of excesses and corruption, issue of projects and programs and economic development that should not marginalize minorities or groups of people in the rural heartland. And more significantly, issues that in these turbulent times that must consider the role of the youth, even in utilizing new technology, of what it means by digital transformation for the youth, what it means for talent to acquire knowledge in new technology, including the AI. I think these, and their concerns on job, on security, and the social fabric of our children. And I therefore must say without exaggeration, it's not just what Malaysia is doing this year, but what our colleagues have been doing in the past many years, and I believe will continue to do so in the next many years. It is because of this spirit that we hear some skirmishes between Thailand and Cambodia. We just take it as a group, where people, of course, do acknowledge my role as chairman, but I must say there's an urge of all our leaders in ASEAN. Before I could invite both prime ministers to come to Kuala Lumpur to finally seal an agreement and understanding, I conferred with all our leaders in ASEAN. And after the initial meeting, I again contacted all of them, which means ASEAN, among political leaders, have been working together based on trust. And I believe the same spirit will continue when we pass on the baton to other leaders. And what is outstanding about parliaments and AIPA, to my mind, to ensure that this does not only be confined necessarily to leaders of governments, but representatives. And thank you again, Joe, for taking this initiative and moving it forward, making sure that AIPA becomes more functioning, more active, beyond the normal annual meetings and exchanges, but getting programs going. When I was at the ASEAN Secretariat, I think the sentiment expressed by many of our ASEAN professionals is that not only the ASEAN Leaders Forum should be functional, but all, which means among the youth, among the women, among the very security, among the economic, social, cultural, it must be functional, because the challenges are enormous and would be unsurmountable unless we take some real courageous measures. From the beginning, ASEAN is unique. Why? because we were formed initially by the vision of our leaders then at a time when Southeast Asia was turbulent, became the focus of the superpowers. The superpowers wanted us to be dragged into certain groupings. And the visionary role of our leaders then was to suggest, look, we have to be, they use the term then, freedom and neutrality. Now we use centrality. But essentially we mean we should engage with the West, with the East, with the North, with the South. But we must maintain our centrality, that we represent the conscience and aspirations of our people and ASEAN. First and foremost, ASEAN must survive, must remain peaceful. And I should say, Alhamdulillah, thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Almighty, because despite some skirmishes here and there, we are still considered the most peaceful region in the world. And beyond that, I would say, is the fastest growing economy in the world. It's getting traction, interest. When countries are peaceful, there's clarity policy. We help each other. There's some excel in digital, some excel in energy, some excel in food technology. We share. Mind you, it's difficult. In the first few decades, we were successful in maintaining some peace and order, although we are not really there when it comes to Myanmar. But there has been some progress. We do engage on our terms. I've conveyed to both factions in Myanmar that we engage on our terms. We are not dictated by the others. We say that you have to be part and parcel of the ASEAN community. You must be inclusive. You must stop these atrocities against any community. And you must allow for humanitarian aid without discrimination. And I must say, at least on those issues, stop the bombings and atrocities against any ethnic minority. And number two, make sure there's access, humanitarian access. So Malaysia set up the military hospital. Thailand, Singapore, Philippines, Indonesia, Brunei, all came with, of course, Vietnam and the rest coming with assistance. Our condition is there must be full humanitarian access without discrimination. For the first time in a decade, both these principles were agreed by both. It's a long way to go, but at least there has been some remarkable success to my mind because of the consensus in ASEAN. Our priority, therefore, is, of course, economic development, new investments. We have huge investments from the United States and Europe. We have increased investments from China and India and the rest. And it's not as easy to navigate, but we can manage because we are acting together. Can you imagine? We have our summit in October, and it's very challenging to ASEAN leaders. We'll have President Donald Trump of the United States here. We will have Premier Li Qiang. I'm not too sure, Vladimir Putin has not confirmed, but he mentioned to me there's a likelihood he's coming. Don't envy me, it's a major task to navigate on those times. And then we have Modi of India, Prime Minister of Korea, Japan, and Canada, Italy, EU, Brazil, President Lula, and Seri Ramaphosa of South Africa. So we're not talking about just 10 plus Timor-Leste, 11 countries. We're talking about countries that are getting enough attention and interest from countries in Asia, in Europe, in Africa, in Latin America. So the rest is up to AIPA to make sure that you benefit from these exchanges, and I'm sure once this is somewhat formalized, the relations, I'm sure the parliamentarians, as we have exchanges with the EU now, with AIPA, would continue. So it is very challenging and expanded role. But we must be very clear what we want. We must not compromise on the issue of good governance. We must not compromise on the issue of ridding our societies and countries of endemic corruption and abuse of power. And we must make sure that we remain focused about sustainability means economic growth, but care for the welfare of our people. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Datuk Seri. Kindly remain at the center of the stage for our next agenda. And for that, we would like to invite His Excellency Tan Sri Datuk Dr. Johari bin Abdul and Her Excellency AR Siti Rozai Merianti, Datuk Haji Abdul Rahman, to accompany the Honourable Prime Minister on the stage. And to complete this officiating ceremony, Honourable Prime Minister, hold on, will place the plug on the officiating platform in count of 3. But let me check, is everyone in the hall ready? And let's do the countdown together. Honourable Prime Minister, if you are ready, in count of 3, 2, 1.
Do we drive to every